Alright guys, this is jerningham here. 7,000 job losses of Marks and Spencer's UK. And for most of you guys and girls that knows what Marks and Spencer's is, it's a place where you can go and buy clothing and food and stuff, I would presume. Minister Justice considered extra allegations to give police more powers to enforce exiting rules. Ireland announces significant tightening key Code-19 restrictions until the 13th of September. The country's Master Minister Justice considered extra. Still living in a crazy world. Talking about clone sections and Marks and Spencer. This guy here. Who knows? See, when people lose these 7,000 jobs, they have to find something else, or they have to probably claim benefits, or they have to find other income to support themselves. The MSN. Job cuts. And what is going on in this world, eh? Trying to think. The whole place is crashing in the UK and probably across the world. I don't know about that news channel thing. There's another thing on the TV. The key workers. So we're going to look at this video. Once I've thought about what I've said on the video, of course. It's all about thinking and deciding what video to actually look at and watch. Even though my controller's died on me again, for some bloody reason. Things just always seem to take time in this world. Every time. Right. I'm going to be showing this.
Key worker Nicola McLean is in
Woman.
a desperate situation. She and her
Key
two
worker.
teenage daughters are facing homelessness after the landlord served them with an eviction notice at the end of June.
6 weeks at the most. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm looking. I have to find a home. I cannot afford for us to be put in emergency accommodation.
She was finding it difficult to keep on top of her rent after being furloughed. She's now back at work and back paying her rent plus the arrears she owes. But that's not been enough to save the flat she's called home for 10 years. And she's being priced out of the expensive London rental market.
That's a very real prospect, homelessness. Yeah, means we lose our pets. They could put us anywhere within a 90-mile radius of where we are now, which ultimately means that I will lose my job and will be forced onto universal credit. My child will be forced to change schools on GCSE year. It's devastating. Sorry.
And she's not alone. With the country plunged into an unprecedented recession, tens of thousands are facing a similar fate when the ban on eviction to protect those hit financially by the pandemic ends next week. One charity says around 230,000 private renters in England have fallen into arrears since the crisis started. That's around 3%, and more than 170,000 have been threatened with eviction by their landlords or letting agents.
The law is the backstop here, and that's why we need the government to act, because if the government doesn't act, then what it allows is for people maybe with families with children at home who have got into rent arrears because of coronavirus, it allows them to be pushed out of their homes.
But the UK-wide body representing landlords is calling on the government to resist calls on another extension. Wales has already doubled the notice period required for evictions, and the Scottish government is also proposing extending its ban until next March.
In England, ministers say they are trying to balance the rights of landlords with the need to protect those of renters, and they're doing that by introducing new repossession rules requiring landlords, when turning to courts to seek an eviction, to provide more information about how the COVID crisis has had an effect on their tenant situation.
For Nicola, time is running out. She has until the end of September to find somewhere for her and her daughters to live. Sejal Karia, ITV News, South London.
Well, it is a big shame for families and people that are struggling in the world. There's loads of people that struggle and they're thrown about because of over money. And then you get all these other sort of things of anti-protesting. They talked about coal mines that are closed in the UK. There's still some coal mines in Scotland and Wales. See, the whole world has gone extremely crazy because of coronavirus. It's not the same as it used to be. Will it go back to normal? Will it be the same again? Can only but hope. Try and find some more things and some more news I can actually show and talk about. Talking about Michelle Obama warns that Donald Trump is wrong for the president.
What the Democratic convention lacked in the usual theatre, crowds and balloon drops, it perhaps made up for in familiar faces.
Welcome to the 2020 Democratic National Convention.
This was Michelle Obama's fourth convention speech. And nearly 4 years since leaving the White House, it appeared just as personal for her.
When my husband left office with Joe Biden at his side, we had a record-breaking stretch of job creation. We'd secured the right to health care for 20 million people. 4 years later, the state of this nation is very different. More than 150,000 people have died, and our economy is in shambles because of a virus that this president downplayed for too long.
Michelle Obama endorsed Joe Biden, but missed the chance to speak personally about his running mate. Her speech recorded before Kamala Harris became the first black woman to run on the presidential tickets for the two main parties. An early flaw in the virtual convention. But the finely tuned lineup of speakers was designed to appeal to a broad electorate, from twice presidential hopeful Bernie Sanders.
During this president's term, the unthinkable has become normal.
To former Republicans, the convention cast a wide net across a splintered electorate.
I'm a lifelong Republican, but that attachment holds second place to my responsibility to my country. That's why I've chosen to appear at this convention.
Instead of crowds in the host city Milwaukee, a digital hub is orchestrating online events around the country. By contrast, Donald Trump is touring battleground states as debate rages in Washington over his attacks on the Postal Service ahead of an election where millions of people plan to vote by mail.
The only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged. Remember that. It's the only way we're going to lose this election. So we have to be very careful.
It's unclear how big an audience this virtual convention will draw. In the midst of a pandemic, with the country in a state of crisis, people may tune in for far more than political entertainment. Sally Lockwood, Sky News.
Well, mixtures of news. Will the Russian protect the president?
Belarus's strongman, looking weak. An address to his traditionally loyal base of state factory workers, met with heckles, not cheers. Step down, they shout.
A president should not make decisions as a result of pressure.
Then a compromise. He offers new elections after a referendum on the Constitution. But as he flies off, the protest swells. A day of strikes in anger at his re-election 9 days ago and the police violence that followed.
We want to support this movement. People go out into the street because the authorities do not hear us, and a strike at the moment is the only bloodless method.
Across the border in Lithuania, there's worry the president may seek Russia's help, or the Kremlin could intervene anyway.
We are concerned because it's publicly discussed, so I personally doubt it will happen, but we cannot exclude, you cannot say that it will never be the case.
Lithuania is one of the strongest European voices condemning the regime. This country's also watching the actions of Russia closely. But the crisis in Belarus is different to the 2014 uprising in next-door Ukraine. The opposition isn't pro-EU or pro-Russia. They're just anti-Alexander Lukashenko. Leading the charge is Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, appearing in another video from hiding.
I'm prepared to take responsibility and act as the nation's leader during this period, so the country settles down and gets back to normality.
Her words will resonate back home, but is harmonious protest enough to end 26 years of one-man rule? Deborah Haynes, Sky News, Vilnius.
Well, goes to show, doesn't it? England's healthcare.
Today I'm announcing that we're forming a new organisation, the National Institute for Health Protection. The National Institute for Health Protection will have a single and relentless mission: protecting people from external threats to this country's health. External threats like biological weapons, pandemics, and of course infectious diseases of all kinds. It will combine our world-class talent and science infrastructure with the growing response capability of NHS Test and Trace and the sophisticated analytical capability that we're building in the Joint Biosecurity Centre. Of course, these institutions work incredibly closely already today, but I want that integration to be seamless. Crucially, this will be a national institute that works very much locally, working with local directors of public health and their teams, who are, in my opinion, the unsung heroes of health protection. Their local insight and intelligence is a mission-critical part of our response. The National Institute for Health Protection will also work closely with the devolved administration, taking on existing UK-wide responsibilities and supporting all 4 chief medical officers with access to the best scientific and analytical advice. By bringing these parts of the system together, we can get more than the sum of the parts. And that mission is for a purpose. So we have a stronger, more joined-up response to protect people and the communities in which they live.
Oh, it's another short video. Thinking. Right. See what else is on the news again.
When Owen Morgan led England to World Cup glory last summer, he reflected positively,
football,
not just
now.
on his team's quality, but their collectivity. Diversity had played its part, said the Irishman. In Moeen Ali and Adil Rashid, a South Asian influence, and Barbados-born Jofra Archer, a vital figure throughout. But their presence...
Committed to getting 100 million people 20% more active by 2025.
A look now at the weather.
TV's turned itself off again, as you can see. Again. Keeps doing that. Don't know why it keeps turning itself bloody off.
Pretty changeable. We're in for some wet and windy spells over the next few. On heavy and thundery downpours, especially across
thundery downpours about it.
And northern England. Elsewhere, it will be
There's the UK there, as you can see. The
heavy showers in the north will slowly die out overnight, and mist and fog patches will form under clear spells.
An area of wet and windy weather will push northwards across southwest England, South Wales and Southern Ireland by dawn. Cloudy, wet and breezy conditions will continue to push northwards across Ireland, England and Wales during Wednesday. The rain will be heavy at times with a risk of gales for Irish sea coasts. Scotland, Northern Ireland and northern England will be sunnier with a few scattered showers. The rain will reach southern Scotland and Northern Ireland by evening, clearing from parts of England, Ireland and Wales. However, the next zone of wet and possibly very windy weather will arrive in the far southwest later.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
You're with the news
And the
hour.
TV's gone off again, as you can see.
Resist.
Keeps turning itself off, which is pissing irritating. See what else is on the news. There's got to be some other news somewhere. Right. Not a great deal on the TV for some reason. I would have thought there's more news than this. But I suppose they put what they want on the TV. Can't seem to find any more news. There's got to be something here I could actually show on here, because I may just end it at this video, to be honest with you. I would keep doing more news, but anyway, better go for now. Thanks for joining me. See you next one, peace.